So after episode 4, my inclination was we weren't going to have any more big surprises right away. I figured the show still had some, but they were going to be held till later in the show. Well, dang! Okay, so much for that. That's your spoiler warning. Yeah, because, there's something that happens at the end of this thing that, yeah. Okay. And I will get to that in a moment. Let me talk about the rest of it a little bit. We seem to be continuing down the path of Wanda is effectively the villain. In fact, the villainy of what it is she's doing gets a fair amount of emphasis here. She has some advocates in the form of Monica Rambeau and also the FBI agent. I really should try and remember his name, the character's name. But, you know, they seem to be advocating for her a little bit. But Top Brass has some very solid points in that she has basically kidnapped these people and wiped their minds and is using them to play pretend. Something that also gets emphasized when Vision takes a moment and kind of removes Wanda's hold over a guy, over, I think it was Ned, and Ned panics. He's terrified. He's in pain from what is happening. So there is a great amount of emphasis on the fact that what is happening to everybody in this town who isn't Wanda is not cool. And it also really emphasizes at some points, in some ways, the amount of control she has as we watch her wander outside of Westview and wander back in without a hitch. So she is obviously there willingly. She seems to be in pretty thorough control, but not complete control. We're getting some hints that there's other stuff at play, and in a number of ways. First off, the boys seem to have a bit of their own thing, and she doesn't seem to be able to exert direct magical control over them. There's also that moment where Agnes basically recognizes that Vision isn't playing along, or he's noticing something he's not supposed to notice. And she seems to be expecting Wanda to roll back time, as we've seen her do a few times, and basically take 2. She even asked Wanda, do you want to take that again? Now, some folks in my comments who are probably either themselves the kind of person to look for fine details and start speculating, or who watch YouTubers who do that, some folks had already pointed out that when we got the board of people in Westview and their true identities, Agnes wasn't on there. And so there does definitely seem to be something going on with her. I'm hesitant to suspect that she's actively behind a lot of what's going on. She still seems, I don't know, there are small things, small moments that to me says she's afraid too. So she doesn't seem like she's in control, but there's definitely something about her that is off versus everybody else. And Vision is clearly starting to see all the seams in this world that's been constructed, which leads to a really great confrontation. Paul Bettany, he brings what feels like very justified anger to Vision in this. And that's despite not knowing what's going on. He's confused and he just knows something is wrong. And Wanda isn't talking to him about it. The anger feels very real, as does Wanda's reaction of, you've never talked to me that way before. And he had the perfect response to that. I don't know what things were like before. It's a really great interpersonal moment. There were, I forget what the exact line was, but there was something that was said that did seem to indicate, or at least suggest the possibility, that even though Wanda might be in control of this thing now, she didn't set it up in the first place. So I think we've still got an open question as to how we got into this situation. This episode does not leave a lot of doubt that she is in a high degree of control over most of what's going on. Now, as far as the sitcom-y aspects of this one, you know, we're going 80s, we're going sort of TGIF and with opening credits kind of akin to Family Ties sort of thing. And again, while it is playing in that mode during those time periods, I zone out a little bit, because again, I don't like those kinds of shows. I never have. And even now that we've reached a decade where it's referencing the vibe of shows I actually am aware of, I still don't like them. So not a lot of nostalgia for me there. Like if you wanted to reference an 80s sitcom that I actually would have liked, it would have been something like Cheers, but that's the wrong vibe for this. This is a family sitcom, clearly. But that's a divergence. Anyways, so the moments that are that kind of thing played straight, which are becoming fewer and farther between, which is good. Because I was afraid after episode 4, I'm like, I hope we don't go back to like a whole episode of just the straight sitcom stuff and then another episode like examining it from the outside. Like, no, they're intermixing them now, which means that while I'm still getting doses of the straight sitcom stuff, which I don't love, but still respect. I still respect what they're doing, and I think it is working, but again, my taste and where I do and don't have nostalgia, I don't particularly enjoy it. But for me, personally, I am appreciative of the fact that they are now integrating the two pretty well, so I don't have to get too big a chunks of the sitcom stuff. So I definitely appreciate that. The stuff with the dog, that was sad. But also, I appreciated Wanda's moment with her sons. You know, telling them, don't skip ahead. You can't just skip over this. This pain, this loss is important. You can't hide from it and you need to feel it. Which, depending on what we find out about how we got into this whole situation, might be a bit of a self-reflective moment, depending on why this thing was created and why Wanda's maintaining it. The emphasis right now is still on grief. That is a sensation that Monica brings up. So that's certainly at the forefront. But again, it's being pushed so hard, and we've got these other hints that there's other things going on. I'm still expecting things to divert in some direction. Okay, let's get to the thing that I put off. So there have been, across the show so far, a couple of small mentions of her brother Pietro, who, of course, died in Age of Ultron. Which, not only his existence and his death, but his death in that event specifically has all been reestablished in this. So, Pietro being brought up by Monica when she was playing Geraldine was what set Wanda off against her. And now we're getting that reminder again. I didn't necessarily expect initially anything to come of that. But when the doorbell rang at the end of the episode, I was like, oh, I think I know who it's going to be. And, she opens the door and we see the silver hair from the back. I'm like, yeah, called it. And then we see the front and it's Evan Peters. And I went, what? I lost it. I lost it completely. That's bold. Props to them. I didn't call it in advance, but I had seen prior to the reveal, it's going to be Pietro. And even me, being a wise ass, thinking I was ahead of the show, it still managed to go, no, you don't know what we're doing. Sit down. Well played. Well played. And besides the fact that I really like Evan Peters as an actor anyway, so I'm totally on board for this. I don't have the space to unpack what this might mean or what this might lead to or connect with. I'm honestly going to have to devote an entire other video to that because it's too much. There are too many possible directions or things that it could or might not mean. What I will say, broadly speaking, and I'll explain this in greater detail when I get to the other video, but I expect that this has to be more than just a small cameo, like a fun joke almost kind of thing, because Marvel and Kevin Feige understand their audience well enough to realize that if that's all this is, they're not going to get away with it because speculation is going to run rampant between now and the next episode, if not now and the remainder of the show. So I seriously doubt they're going to make the mistake of having it actually not mean anything. But at the same time, I do not believe that this is going to signal an actual true integration and folding in of the X-Men material into the MCU. There's some nuance to that, and there's some, well, maybe this bit, but and I've got reasons for all the thoughts going on in my head, but again, not this video. It will be too dang long. I gotta tackle that as a separate thing. But I'm still digging the vibe. They are doing a very good job of making Wanda intimidating and scary, and she's selling it really well. And the concerned confusion that I'm getting off Vision right now, that's great stuff. He's selling that really well. And I'm having a lot of fun whenever we cut outside and I'm getting to spend time with these other characters. It's very well constructed. I'm appreciating this, and bold. WandaVision, episode 5. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. The video talking about the possible implications of this probably gonna go on Council of Geeks proper. Maybe by Sunday. I don't know. I've got other stuff I've got to do. I got a lot to do as soon as I'm done recording this. But whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon, which is how I am able to pay for Disney Plus, also food, and cover my bills, and have this entire thing up and running. Even if you're not able to do that, like, share, subscribe, they all help me out, but no pressure. I don't control your mind and force you to do things, because I take a relaxed attitude around here. So just come on back next time you need a break.